welcome to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. And Joy and I are two very old friends who are going to talk about murder and everything else.
Welcome back, everybody. We just celebrated Thanksgiving holiday, and instead of doing our highs and lows like we always do, just randomly, we're actually going to talk today about our Thanksgiving highs and lows. But before we do that, I just have a couple of quick disclaimers. One is this is not for kids. And also, this disclaimer's for Francoise. We are going to be wrapping up the Golden Bachelor season in this week's episode. And so if you hated our last Bachelor recap, then you're going to really hate this one. So maybe skip the meat and potatoes of this one and just listen to the intro and the ending. But for the rest of you listeners, you got to listen to the whole fucking thing. All right?
Back by popular demand, except for Francois.
Exactly. So anyway, Cheryl, you want to tell us a little bit about like your Thanksgiving highs and lows, how things went, maybe some great ideas out there that we can all like steal for next year.
Hmm. I don't know about the ideas, but my Thanksgiving was great. I had in-laws in, and I told you before that I won the in-law lottery. I mean, you might like your in-laws too. But I love my in-laws. And shout out to Annie and Adam and Mary and Lucy, their daughters. They came from California, Southern California. They came to visit us, and we had such a great like 4 days with them. So on Thanksgiving, we went to a it's it's a family like removed. It's a Calabash family. Did you guys call it Calabash? Like we used to call Calabash cousins when you weren't like blood related, but you were really close. Is that a
Oh
word
no,
that you
I've never heard that reference
really?
before, but
Maybe it's a
I'm
Hawaii thing.
sure. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But anyway, so we went there on Thursday, which is they invite us every year, these lovely people, and they invite us on Christmas with just their immediate family and me and Kevin. Like
Oh,
I was yeah, I'm like we're not worthy. Like it's amazing. It's so sweet. But so we went there, and then later on that day we had the in-laws from out of town come over, and we just we ate, we played games. What's funny is there's a game that we all love to play, but the California family plays it different from the Arizona peeps. So we had a disagreement, and it was mostly between me and my brother-in-law Adam. And we were standing our ground on this one rule, and we could not come to a consensus, so we had to pack up the game. But
wait,
no
what was the
one.
game? What was the game?
It's called Cambio. It's a card game. It relies a lot on memory, and certain cards it allows you to do certain actions.
Hmm.
And anyway, we had a slight different meeting of the minds. We did not have meeting of the minds, but it was quite funny. It was all in good fun. There were no blows thrown. No one was hurt in the. No one was physically hurt in the process of this heated disagreement, or as one of my friends says, we had a very spirited discussion. um, but yeah, it was just fun. We played games, we ate. Oh, and they brought their dog Phoebe, um, and she and Bodie played the first 2 nights
Aw.
they were here non-stop, Joy, non-stop for hours.
Oh,
Like they would take a little recess, and then we'd see them like running around the house chasing each other. And my favorite thing is when two dogs take the ends of the same toy and are tugging on it. I find
cute.
that so cute. So we got a great picture of that. Yeah, it was just food, fun and loving family. It was really great.
Yay.
I don't know about ideas. I don't know if I saw any ideas, but I do have to throw a low in there because there's always a low in everything, which I told
Mm.
you. It has nothing to do with Thanksgiving, but I had a setback, everybody, with my leg. Okay. So last week I was released from PT and I was feeling great. And then I did some gym on Monday and I am now walking around with a cane or walker. Um,
Oh no,
so that was a real bummer because
that is a
I
bummer.
the first 3 nights I was able to ignore my situation and my pain and have a really great time. And then last night I could feel myself just kind of on a pity train, just really
Oh,
bummed out. And and I was tired. But yeah, last night I was like, so that was my low because I just you know when I this is exactly what happened. The first few nights they were here, I was like, I'm going to put this, frustration with my leg and my knee on the back burner because we have guests to entertain, you know? So I was
right.
able to just forget about it, with just have a nice distraction and have a great time. And I'm only figuring this out now that I'm talking saying this. And last night my energy was really low, and I think it was because this is the last day of their visit, and I'm gonna have to face reality after this. I think that's what happened.
Right.
So, and yeah, so here I am with facing reality, and I have a setback. But anyway, but Thanksgiving was great. How about yours?
That's awesome. Well, I'm just gonna throw out there uh something we did this year. So for those of you who listen regularly, you know that we had a full house weekend before last, and then we have a full house now. So we had maybe, I don't know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had maybe 3 or 4 days between the two full houses. So it was a very quick turnaround. And so for Thanksgiving, we decided to go to a local grocery store. It's not Whole Foods because the reviews I read on Whole Foods Thanksgiving dinner were not very complimentary. It's a grocery store from up north called Wegmans. So if you guys live on the East Coast, any of our listeners, you know that Wegmans is, I believe it's from upstate New York area, but we have quite a few in the area, and we ordered dinner from Wegmans, and it came with all the fixings. It came with green beans, a delicious cranberry sauce, stuffing, mashed potatoes, butternut squash cooked with caramelized onions and spinach. It's so delicious. It came with turkey. It had dark meat and white meat. Came with gravy. The gravy was fire, and I don't like gravy. And I feel like it came with some other stuff too, but I can't remember. It was just so much food. And then I made my corn souffle and I made another stuffing that one of my kids loves. But just, quick kind of like a stovetop stuffing,
Hmm.
which is very, very easy to make. You just dump it in a bowl, mix in some sauteed vegetables and some butter and um, the broth, and then you bake it.
It's
And then
good.
we bought some gingerbread cakes and an apple pie from Costco. So we really farmed almost the whole thing out. And I have to say that it was magical because we didn't have to spend all day slaving away in the kitchen for a 20-minute meal and then you want to die because you're exhausted. And for those of you who spend a lot of time cooking, you know exactly what that looks like.
Yeah.
You're so tired by the end of the day, you just want to cry.
And
And
then you have to
everyone,
clean up
yeah, and every dish in your kitchen has been used. So there's dishes stacked to the ceiling.
everywhere.
So, yeah, so head over to Wegmans next year or for the Christmas holiday. We literally showed up on Thanksgiving morning, I think at 10 a.m., waited for 5 minutes, and we took a huge box to the car. And there were instructions on how to warm everything up. The warming process took approximately an hour. So it was really just so very little work. And then let's
That's my
see.
kind of cooking. That's what I told you.
I
That is my kind of cooking.
I know, right? And then the other thing we do Thanksgiving weekend is we put out all our Christmas scrap. And that is so fun. We put on music, We drag out all the ornaments and all of the lights and the trees and the wreaths and blah, 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 blah. And we throw it out. And this year we had extra new stuff and it's fun going through the old stuff and it's fun looking at all the little things, the tchotchkes the kids made. Anyway, I don't have a low. I'm just not going there today. So I don't have a
Good for
low.
you.
I have many highs. I might have even been high, and let's just leave it at that. All right. So anyhow, guys, I've got updates, shout outs, and letters from our readers.
Oh my God.
Except it's called letters from our listeners because they're not
She
really
likes
reading
to
anything.
she likes to call it letters from our readers, just in case you're
Yeah.
confused.
So anyway, I'm going to start with updates. We are back this week with episode 2 in the Golden Bachelor franchise. Remember, we covered the first 4 episodes in the first show. Today, we're going to cover the last episodes. So anyway, if you want to weigh in before the final episode, which airs on November 30th, please email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com and let us know who you think he's going to pick, because Cheryl and I are going to talk about who we think he's going to pick.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
I know.
Sorry, Francois.
Also,
See you at the end.
yeah, right. Also, shout outs. I have a shout out for my father-in-law who listened to the first Golden Bachelor episode, said it was hilarious. And also a shout out to Francois who alerted me to the misspelled name Natalie on our Instagram post. So I went to Instagram, took it down, corrected the spelling, and put it back up there with the correct spelling. What will we do without our listeners? Cheryl, do you have any shout outs?
Shout out to Kevin, who also listened to our Golden Bachelor episode and thought it was hilarious.
It was so funny.
It
Guys,
was so fun.
it wasn't just funny to listen to, it was so much fun to make.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Right? And then the next segment before we jump into our meat and potatoes is letters from our listeners, not our readers.
Oh my God, can't wait.
Guys, this one is so cool. I am going to tell you that we got a post on our Facebook episode last week from somebody I went to high school with. Yeah, you heard it here first. Somebody I went to freaking high school with. His name is Brett. Shout out, Brett. Thank you so much for posting. He posted about Uptown Theater in Napa, California, near where I lived when I went to high school and college. They are hosting an event called The Psychology of Serial Killers and Why They Captivate Us, featuring Dr. Rachel Tolles, who is a crime expert and clinical psychologist, on February 23rd, 2024. So if you're in the area and love true crime and serial killers, you should buy a ticket and check it out. So thank you, Brett.
Awesome.
Yeah,
very cool.
For taking the time to post that on our Facebook post. And I don't know if you're a regular listener. I don't know if you follow us, but you took the time to send us a letter, and that is super awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's cool. I hope somebody can go see it. And if you do, you got to write us.
Yeah, totally. Serial killers, Cheryl, that's right up your alley.
Oh,
you should fly out there for that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, let's jump into some Bachelor, Golden Bachelor stuff. First of all, the websites that I used when researching these episodes were Vulture, ABC.com, and Celebrity Dirty Laundry. And let me just start this out by saying one of the things we forgot to mention in our last Golden Bachelor podcast is that people have really, really loved the faster pace of this season because they used to, on the regular Bachelor and Bachelorette seasons, they would air 2-hour episodes. And this season, they have downgraded it to 1-hour episodes. And personally, I feel like this is one of the reasons why I have complained incessantly that I don't know Gerry very well, or Gerry. I wish that I could get to know more about him because, other than the fact that he's tall and he's from Indiana, I also found out in one of these later episodes that he's got very big feet. Um, I will say that I don't really know very much about him. I would love to know, like, what's his favorite color? What's his favorite meal? What's his favorite movie? Does he like the movies? What, you know, what does he like to do in his free time? What kinds of activities did he do with his kids when he was growing up and they were younger? Like, does he have grandkids? And if so, what does he like to do with his grandkids? Does he belong to any clubs in his area? I mean, there's so much shit we don't know about
Well,
Jerry.
we do know he likes pickleball,
We
and
do.
we know that he likes lap dances. Um,
I don't get it. I don't get why they shortened it.
oh, I was gonna say I'm sorry, but I'm on the shortened version
Oh.
uh
I wondered
team.
if maybe if there wasn't enough shenanigans that they felt like were worthy of being watched. The younger episodes, that feature 20 and 30 somethings, they're doing a lot of drinking, so there's a lot of drunken behavior. There are also a lot of infighting and cat fighting, so that creates, also ratings to show, like, some girls being snarky or some dudes, being like working out and flexing. I don't know. I just thought maybe the
I
network just felt like they didn't have enough good stuff.
I think I think there's shenanigans no matter what age you are. Remember Zip Your Lip? Well, I think they needed more sleep than the younger generation. So, but I think there were enough shenanigans for 2 hours. I think maybe an hour and a half would have been okay, but my personal opinion is they were maybe not sure how Golden Bachelor, uh, idea um would go, how well it would go, so they wanted to keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, that's probably it. They probably were
We're
testing the
testing it.
waters.
I think
Yeah,
we're
and
testing the
maybe
waters.
going
They'll get
forward,
feedback.
yeah. And maybe
Yeah,
going forward, if they do a Golden Bachelorette, they may extend the episodes a little bit based off of feedback. We'll see. The
correct.
other thing
So
I just wanted to throw out there too is, for those of you who maybe want a little more digging on the Golden Bachelor, um, there is a Golden Bachelor contestant named Patty James. She's from Durham, North Carolina, and she talks to Leonida Inge on NPR about the anticipation of meeting the Golden Bachelor, her friendships with the other contestants, and what it was like to return to her real life after the show ended for her, because she's not one of the women who made it to the end. No surprises there. And because when she was eliminated, I remember thinking, I don't think I've even seen her on this show yet. Um, so if you guys are interested, there is a pretty good, interesting segment on npr.org. So head over there and look for this Durham, North Carolina resident Patty James talk about her experience. It's interesting. She goes into detail about how she was selected, how she didn't think she had made the cut, and then at the last minute they contacted her. It's really interesting. And then, they take away their cell phones. That's the other thing, is you don't have a cell phone and a connection to texting with your family, et cetera, et cetera. There's a way for family to reach you if they really need to get through. I think about the lady whose daughter had a baby and she had to leave because she was struggling with postpartum depression.
right.
So there are ways to reach out, but she said they take away your phone, and so you're forced to hang out with and talk to and get to know the women in there because you got nothing else going on.
Right, right.
Anywho, so Cheryl, you have anything you want to throw out there before I roll into episode 5?
No, no, let's do it. Let's
All
do it.
right. So guys, Episode 5 kicks off with only 3 roses remaining, and hometowns are on the horizon. So there's only there are 6 women remaining, and 5 of them are going to go on a group date. So this episode begins with the 5 women picked to go on the group date. They are Chris Kardashian, whose name is Susan, Guns of Steel is Sandra, Dirty Dancer, who is Leslie, but my kid calls her the pick me lady, because she's a pick me. She's like, pick me, pick me. Material Girl Ellen, and the pixie convertible hair hot mess Teresa. I um, they they all go to what looks like the Santa Monica Pier, where there's like roller coasters and Ferris wheel and carny games and and cotton candy and all that. And it looks really cute, and they all look like they're having a great time. But I have to just say, the roller coasters, Cheryl, and I'm not being an ageist by saying this. I personally cannot go on roller coasters anymore
Me too.
because
Oh,
I also can't do water slides. And it
oh,
wasn't something that I couldn't do last week going forward. It's something I couldn't do like from my 30s. And I learned by trial and error, almost freaking drowning at a water park. But there's something that happens when I go around and around and around in a circle, and it's
yeah.
not throw up, it's just I actually feel like I'm going to pass out and almost have passed out. So the idea, and a couple of the women looked like they were going to pass out on the roller coaster, or was
Oh,
that just
no, no doubt. And they were probably trying to like, appear like they were having fun and they were
yeah,
fine, but
yeah.
they were not. Listen,
Also,
I am an expert at nausea. We all know that because I've spoken about it before. And there is nothing worse than being sick to your stomach and trying to appear that you're fine. There's
or
nothing worse.
or remember at one point they're sitting on the bench and he's coming in for kisses on most of these broads.
Oh, that's
And
dangerous.
some of them look like they've been through a cyclone. And then on top of it, you've got to kiss somebody. I was just like, come on. But remember, so this is the episode where he looks very antiseptic with some of these women, and some of them are saying like, I'm falling in love with you, and it's almost like he doesn't know how to respond. But remember, he gives Leslie a hug, and Leslie's the dirty dancer, and
Hmm.
he whispers into her hair like, you're my girl, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And
And
he doesn't say that to any of these other women.
no, and he doesn't even. So he starts to reciprocate the "I'm falling in love with you" to
Mhm.
several, right? Didn't he with Faith and Ellen might have come
Yeah,
later,
he kind of
but
throws them a bone. No, but
yeah,
remember,
but
he has the one-on-one date this episode with Faith. So Faith's not on the group date.
oh, okay. So, but poor Teresa. Well, it ends up not poor Teresa, but at the time, at that episode, she is like pouring her heart out, and he's kind of like skirting around it. It's like one time I said to Kevin, "I love you," and he said, "Thanks." That's kind of what Gerry was doing with Teresa, don't you think? She's kind of like, "I'm
Yeah,
falling in love with you," and he's like, "Oh, that's nice."
I yeah,
It's like, it's hilarious. I mean, not for her. I felt bad for her, but he was really kind of like, "Oh,
they
they're
also
so
really are, I think they use a lot of editing to kind of steer us in the direction that they want us to go. And
yeah, no doubt, no
I
doubt."
definitely felt like in this episode, they really, really wanted us to start focusing on Dirty Dancer Leslie.
No doubt. Well, he
So
said, "You're my girl." He said that to her.
I felt so bad for Pixie convertible lady Teresa because this is now the second date she's gone on with him where her hair, thanks to like the activities,
I
it's
know.
just like one hot mess. Remember, Gerry has short hair, so he doesn't have to worry about his hair getting all crazy. And so
Well,
Kris Kardashian, Susan, she has short hair too. But the vast majority of these women have spent all this time and energy, and also they have
oh,
makeup artists and stuff getting their hair all done, only to go on a freaking roller coaster and have it whipped to hell.
you
So
know what? You need to write in. You know how you need to write into Congress when you have need a law passed? You need to
yeah,
write in and say, number one, I would like it extended from an hour to 2 hours so we can get to know the either
yeah,
bachelor or bachelorette. Also, for women of a certain age, you have got to stop doing the stuff where they are in a whirlwind with
yeah,
their hair.
yeah, totally.
It's
It's
not
totally
cute.
true.
On
It's
a
not
20
cute.
something year old, it might be cute, but on a 60, 70 year old, it ain't cute.
Okay, so guys, Faith gets the one-on-one date this week. And I have to say that it was interesting. I thought he really, really, really had connected with Faith through this whole thing. But he kind of talks about how, like, he had really been impressed by her getting off the motorcycle, but then, they hadn't really spent that much time together, which I feel like he has to say. I feel like they give him a certain amount of scripted shit. And
You think? You think?
yeah, yeah, I, I, I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe.
the
Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of coaching.
yeah.
Like, hey, this is,
Oh, totally.
yeah,
Totally, because when they get to the fantasy suites, and that's like in a couple episodes, I gotta tell you, they say the same shit every time. So much so that Gabe has it memorized, and he'll be like, if you want, we can take this key back to the fantasy suite, open some champagne, get in the hot tub, and see what happens. And every episode when
that's
there's a
what they
fantasy suite, that's what they say. So I know that there's a lot of stuff that's scripted. But anyway, they go on like a really kick-ass date. I just got to tell you, for anybody, any age on any planet, that helicopter ride to the yacht to the hot tub, that's a freaking amazing date. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So in case you didn't watch it, Francoise, yeah, yeah, it was incredible. She was already like, oh my God, we're going on a helicopter ride. And then they see the
Yeah.
yacht and they start heading for it. And she's like, we're not landing on that. No way, right? I mean, that's
Remember
pretty
she was
awesome.
afraid? Remember she was afraid of the helicopter? I was like, Faith, you don't like the helicopter. This is your chance to be like rubbing all up on him and being scared and getting some action on the helicopter. Like, come on,
Yeah.
girl. Anyway, I felt like there was a lot of chemistry on this date.
Yes. I mean, at this point, Kevin likes her. He's going with her. Um, she was like a strong contender for sure.
Yeah. I will
Very
say
strong.
there was one thing I didn't like that Gerry did, and that is she talks about how she had a hard childhood and that she was drawn to emotionally unhealthy men as a result of her trauma. But Gerry's so different. She feels like her vulnerability has been used against her in previous relationships, but he promises, and he says this, that will
Mm,
never happen with me. And I felt in that instant, I was like, sweet Jesus, why stop lying now? Like,
yeah.
just keep that ball rolling, Gerry,
Uh,
because that's a really strong promise in the middle of a freaking dating show.
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so she comes back from the date and then they have a rose ceremony, and we all knew that this was where it was headed. There's only 3 roses. And do you want to say who he picks, Cheryl?
Um, he picks Dirty Dancer. Dirty
Yeah.
Dancer, Leslie.
Yeah. And he picks Faith, who drinks from a hose, and he picks convertible Teresa. No surprises there because he's got three roses, and those are the three women that he seems to have connected with. And he's very nice. He walks Ellen out, material girl Ellen.
Oh,
And
wait. Back it up. First of all, sorry, I was confused. I thought we were doing the where they get down to two. Can we
oh,
talk about how pissed off Ellen was? She was
oh yeah.
angry, angry,
Also remember
angry.
that when you get in the van or the limo or whatever, you have a lighting guy and a camera in your
In
face
your face.
as as you're driving away. And I have seen women and men go, "Get the F out of my face," because they don't want to talk. They just got cut from what they thought was like, obviously they felt like they're blindsided or whatever. I got to
Yeah,
be honest. I don't think Ellen had any idea. I mean, I don't think Ellen could read a room because if she had been able to read a room, she would have known that she was not going to be going to the end. I mean,
no, I disagree because I actually thought she had a good chance based on the way he was interacting with her. That's why
I
she was so pissed.
I
Anyway,
don't know. Anyway, I just was like, really, Ellen? Like, I mean, maybe I didn't get that. Maybe there's a lot more making out that they're not showing us. But again, if they were giving us 2-hour episodes instead of 1-hour episodes, then we'll be able to see how much grab ass Jerry's playing with Ellen. I
yeah,
mean, seriously, that's one of the reasons why people tune in to the regular bachelors to see how much grab ass this guy's playing or the girl is playing with all these contestants. I mean, it's salacious. And maybe they felt like America didn't want to see it. I could tell you that my 16-year-old, who I forced to watch this with me, doesn't want to watch it, but I don't care. I mean, I like to remind her, you know how you got here, right? It was from playing grab ass with your dad. And she's like, ugh, ugh. But
oh
you
my
know, I
God.
mean, the fact of the matter is it's true, So there. And
Yeah,
also, when you're 16, it doesn't matter if you're 55 or if you're 75, it's all the same thing to a 16-year-old.
that's
Everybody over 30 is nasty.
correct. But no, but I disagree. I think that there was something. I think that he did give her that feeling. That she had a chance.
I
She
think
was stunned. She
I
was
think
stunned. I didn't
maybe
know when she walked up to him to say goodbye if she was gonna hug him or punch him in the face. She was
I
so mad. She was pissed off.
I don't know. I think also wearing those dresses and those heels and standing there for that long probably also pisses them off. But I also think that he has amount of scripted things that he has to fit in, like and he has to use them for all the women and they tell him you cannot tell any of these women that they're not a contender um, until like the last two episodes or something like that. Because some of those women, like that woman, Patty James, that I was talking about earlier, I didn't even know who she was when she got kicked off. I remember saying to my kid, did she, is she just like one of those like Oscar filler people that they put in the seats when the celebrities go to the bathroom? Because I had never even seen her. She just showed up at the rose ceremony and I was like, damn, she's new. At the rose ceremony, the three ladies that are left standing are
Faye drinks from a hose. Leslie, Dirty Dancing, and Convertible Teresa. Poor Teresa. Convertible Teresa.
that's right. She likes a convertible. So, guys, heading into episode 6, there's only 3 ladies, and there's only 2 roses that are um that remain. And remember, he's going to take these 3 ladies to hometowns to meet their families in this episode. So he's going to meet their children, their grandchildren. That is singular because remember, nobody's ever been on the show that had grandchildren before. They're going to meet like brothers, sisters, maybe even like um, not in laws, but like son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws, things like that. So first he heads to Shrewsbury, New Jersey to visit convertible Teresa. And Cheryl, what did you think of Teresa's family? He meets
I
two of Teresa's sisters.
Yeah, I thought they were lovely. Um, I I felt like they were Gary's speed. Like what's a better word than speed? I just felt like he would fit in well with them.
Yeah. But one of the things I noticed is this. You can tell a lot about a couple by their physical contact, whether or not they can keep their hands off of each other and whether or not they're physically affectionate. Now, granted, Gerry was with the same woman for 42 years. So I know for a fact that at some point they could learn to stop groping each other, right? Like you're just
Right.
not all that gropey. But like I really still enjoy the grope. Do you?
Watching other people grow or
No,
being
I
grow.
I enjoy like the under the table when you're out to dinner, like the leg rope, and I enjoy like, the the squeezing and the manhandling, like, like I really enjoy that. And sitting in close proximity, like when you walk past someone, you're like squeezing this or squeezing that. I really still enjoy that. I've been married for 20
Sweet.
years.
That is really
So
sweet.
yeah, and I feel like also my partner enjoys the grope too. So my question to you is, I feel like there is one clear groper and gropey, and there's a second runner up groper and gropey at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Teresa
And
is
Teresa is not either one
she's
of them.
not she's neither one of them. And
Uh-huh.
you know, we're talking about, groping this person. And I don't want to say for the rest of your life because, like, who knows? Maybe it's only going to be 5 years or 10 years or 6 years or 2 years. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, well, I guess technically it is the rest of their lives. But again, going back to the first episode, they don't have to grow old together. They just want someone to spend time with now in the
Right.
years that they have left. And I think but you still want to, like, you're still got to be hot for this person, right?
Yeah. 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 And there is the body language is definitely, I
Yeah.
mean, at this point, not only the body language, but what I had said in the about the previous episode, he's not reciprocating her. I'm in love with you. I could see being
Yeah.
with you for the rest of my life. He is definitely not reciprocating her love language or body language.
Yeah. And at one point, he reaches out and holds hands with one of the sisters. And I go, that's the most groping he's done. It's not even with her, it's with her sister.
Oh my God.
So I don't know. After he visits with Teresa, the grandkids, I have to tell you, the grandkids won this episode hands down. All the
Oh,
cute questions like, "Are you going to be our new grandpa? Are you going to marry our grandma?" By the way, I think calling yourself grandma, dumb, 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 but whatever. Anyway, the next place he heads to is Benton City, Washington. Shout out to my people on the West Coast. Woo whoop. To visit drinks from a hose, Faith, and proceeds to spryly jump up on a horse, which I gotta tell you again,
makes me
going
nervous.
back to the tethered hot air balloon made me a little nervous. He didn't know what he was doing. Someone's gonna break a hip. Um, I will say that what really jumped out was she pointed out to him that this was where her roots were. Her horse was buried in the pasture. She made it very clear, abundantly clear, that she had no intention of leaving Washington State.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And when you're in a show like this and you're a contestant to ride off into the sunset on your trusty steed with your Gerry guy next to you, I have to say you kind of have to be open-minded. I mean, this is not the show to be like doubling down on like I'm never leaving this place. My horse is buried here. You know what I mean? Like you're talking to a man who has buried a wife. I'm not saying that the horse takes precedent over the wife or vice versa. I'm just saying like yeah, that would make me concerned,
Yes.
right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And does she ask him, "Can you see yourself living here?" Did she ask him that when they were standing in
I
front of the land? And uh,
she I felt like he brought up something about like, we have to, talk about logistics. And he's been very nebulous about like about saying the right thing like whoever I pick, we're going to make it work, and I feel like that's really nice for you Jerry Gary, but I feel like he's going to have to be the one who compromises when it comes to the move. And that's because you have to remember that these three women have put down some pretty deep roots.
I don't know. I think the other two would be willing to work it out and move, but she clearly stated
Yeah.
her yeah, that she was not moving, and you know
Yeah. Anyway, the last place he heads to is Minneapolis, Minnesota to visit Dirty Dancing Leslie and her family. And I actually really, really, really liked her family. They seemed very close. Um, and I liked her brother. And I love that they called Jerry Gary a mensch. Oh, which reminds me, quick shout out right here. I know this is off topic, but I talked to my father-in-law about Gary, Indiana, and it is from the Music Man. I was absolutely right. But guess who sings it? It's sung by Opie Cunningham, who is none other than Ron Howard
oh, he's
when he was when
oh
he was a kid. And so now I'm going to have to go watch the Music Man so that I can get reference for the Gary, Indiana song.
oh
Anyway, going back to Gary Jerry. Um what did you think of Dirty
Leslie.
Dancing Leslie's family? Whoa, at the end of that where he pushes her up against the wall and he starts to like start a leaf blower on her lips. I was like, "Damn."
Yes.
I was
Well,
like, "What's happening there?"
you
I mean,
said the groping that they do make up for the lack of with Teresa.
yes. I got to
I
say, who this episode, you can really tell that he is fired up on Leslie. Like
oh my
he
God.
is super attracted to her. He is like he wants to like gropinate her all the way out of Minneapolis. Like I
Yes.
was like, what's going down, Jerry Gary? And also they're very well matched. Like she's tall, you can tell for a woman because he's not having to like, stoop down and pick her up or like, he doesn't have to bend all the way down at the waist to kiss her. And you can just tell there's a lot of chemistry there.
Yeah. I this is where this was um her brother is very protective over her, and they talk about how she's had it rough because remember she was divorced twice. And you know, she's just had a rocky road. She's had a rocky road with relationships, and her family is clearly concerned and protective over her,
Hmm.
which he's a nice guy. Gary is, and he probably, hopefully won't treat her the way it sounds like she's been treated in the past. But it leads me to wonder: is it her, or was it the man in her life?
Yeah. Let you listeners know that at the end of this episode, they show him doubled over and like kind of like, hyperventilating a little. And again, lot less weeping in this episode by Jerry Gary. I was super impressed. He kept it together. But there is weeping because now he can't decide. And they kind of create this cliffhanger. Um, and you kind of get a feeling like, he's going to go in one direction. But I will say that at the end, like when he's leaving Faith and Washington to go to Minneapolis, she is sobbing. And you kind of get a sinking feeling like, uh-oh, like, that's not a good goodbye. You don't want to say goodbye to somebody and have them be like, "Wah," and just like wailing. And that was the first feeling I got where I was like, uh-oh, like I don't, I think that Faith has tapped into something that we don't really know about. But anyway,
I didn't think that. I thought that she was just
no.
emotional and that he was saying goodbye.
No, 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 no. I'm like, because remember, Jerry spent this entire show weeping, and he's sitting in the car, none the wiser, and she's standing outside watching it pull away, and she's crying like a schoolgirl who spilt, chocolate sauce down her uniform. I mean, she is really balling it up. So,
Okay, I have to tell you that. So Annie, my sister-in-law, who was visiting from California, she said she's watching it, and she said, "Boy, he cries a lot." And I said,
ah,
"Yes, I'm so sad."
Annie, I love you, Annie. He cries incessantly. As a matter of fact, episode
Ah,
6 was so refreshing because he only cried there at the very end. So they leave
okay,
episode. Yeah, go ahead.
no. So episode 6 ends with a rose ceremony, right? So he's got
It
two
does.
roses. He's got two roses and three ladies,
And
right?
it's
He's
a
got
cliffhanger
Well,
because
he does. They end it with him giving one rose, though. Remember? And then the
right,
cliffhangers too.
and he gives the rose to freaking
Two,
Dirty Dancer.
drum roll, Dirty Dancer is safe at the
Yep.
end of episode 6. So we have drinks from a hose, Faith, who won't leave her horses, and poor convertible messy hair Teresa.
Yeah.
And they,
And everyone in America is thinking that he's going to keep Faith
okay,
because ba ba boom. But
yeah,
remember the power of editing. And I start getting this sneaking suspicion that they've been leading us down this rosy path the whole time. And then, sure enough, episode 7 starts out with them showing which direction he goes in.
okay. So let's talk about episode 7.
So, episode 7 is the Women Tell All. So they bring all the women in that were on the show and they bag on Gerry and they tell stories that you didn't know about. And they basically like shit all over him. And then there's going to be more crying. But they show you that he basically cuts strings from a hose. Um,
Which
Faith.
the audience's reaction was, oh, I mean, it
Yeah.
was shocking. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
shocking.
And also, the other thing I liked about the audience was, again, they had all range and age of women in the audience. And
Yeah,
I was happy to see that because, whenever they do the regular Bachelor, it's always like super hot, super people, hot, super, super hot people. And it's not like normal people.
and I
So,
liked that they had men in the audience. I really liked that.
yeah, they probably had like 4 criers. Anyway, I have to tell you that Um, so I really was impressed by the women that got kicked off the show, and I will tell you why. These women showed that with all of the years under their belts, that making good friends is so much more important than sniping at each other, cutting each other down, and just focusing on ratings. It was so refreshing to
Yeah.
see women supporting women. And I feel like the moral of this entire season is that 60 to 75-year-old women have cracked the code on how to be good people. So the rest of the world needs to take a fucking lesson or two from them. And
Yeah.
so if you want to make that into a bumper sticker or whatever, you need to contact me because I was so blown away about how they focused on what good friends they had made, how exciting it was, and all the fun they had in the mansion and all the food cooking and like all the camaraderie. And it wasn't about, I hate that bitch. I'm going to cut her or I'm going to kick her out. I'm going to push her down the stairs. They
Yeah.
just were So good.
It didn't turn into a Jerry Springer episode.
Yep, they were
They were
so one. It was just so heartwarming and heartfelt, and it made me think, wow. So what they're saying is, in 5 years, I'm going to become a really good person. So you heard it here first. In the next 5 to 25 years, there is a shot for me to
Oh
rise
my
through the
gosh.
ranks to become a good person. So so I will say that Faith does come out and she meets with Gerry. And didn't you feel like her tears and her sadness was so gut-wrenching and
Oh,
devastating?
I hate to admit this, but I was crying. So first they bring Faith out and
You
she
were
talks.
crying too?
Yeah, because I have to let me I this is
Oh
what stuck with me the
god.
most. Because even what's his name? Jesse, who's the host? I don't even know his name.
I don't know, but I feel like the host I think a hilarious thing would be every episode to change his name to something because to me he's so nondescript and so blah that I'm just like I don't even remember what his name is.
I think it's Jesse. Well, anyway, he tells her, that he was genuinely shocked that she was cut. He really was genuinely shocked, like the rest of us. And one of the things she said that maybe the one bachelorette that I've listened to, maybe they expressed the same thing, but I don't know if it was in the same way. But whatever, when she said it, I got it. She said when she didn't get the rose and she was cut and he walked her out. She said after she hugged him and she looked up at him, he was a total stranger. And I
Oh
got
my
that.
god.
I got that feeling
That's why
because,
she was weeping.
yeah, well, no, it was when he walked her out after she got cut, not at the
Oh,
hometown thing. And
oh.
I totally got it because here they are just loving on each other, and then he didn't even get down to two. You know what I mean? It was like there were three people,
He'd already
and
cut her out.
yeah, and then it was kind of like, whoa, what was that we had then? And she said he was a total stranger, and she said going from such a high and feeling so close to someone to all of a sudden you're nothing. When she said that, I was like, wow,
I gotta tell
that
you, her tears and reaction to seeing Gerry were so authentic and honest. She genuinely she genuinely seemed like she was devastated by the loss of him, and she seemed to have really loved him.
oh
But
yeah.
I also was so impressed by how very little I know about Gerry after 7 fucking episodes.
Well, you know what? You know what I gotta give to Gary? Gary is his ability to evade because be evasive because so she pours her heart out without Gary being on the stage, and then after she says all of that, they bring him out, and she is able to express to him all her feelings, and he very skillfully says to her because she says, she felt like he was a stranger and she felt like nothing, and he said, "No, my feelings for you were genuine," which I think made her feel a lot better because I think she felt like I know I would. Was that an act? Was I freaking duped on national TV? And he's like, "No, my feelings for you were genuine." But in essence, he didn't say this, but basically he's got to get down. He's gonna have to keep cutting people. That's just the name of the game. But
Right,
I don't think he thought she
right.
was gonna cut
Well,
that early.
I will say that yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I still don't know anything about this guy. Anywho, guys, we are now up to episode 8, and if you have kept up through this process, you will know that this is not an easy just jump from episode to episode. I mean, you have to go back and remember little things that happen, et cetera, et cetera. But episode 8 is is called I found in one of the website they called it Gerry versus the volcano. So I I called it Costa Rica or I want to sleep with ya. And I'm like,
I'm gonna sleep with you. Wait, why did they call it? Who's the volcano? What's the
because
volcano?
there's a volcano. They kept showing this like volcano in the background.
Oh God, that went right over my head.
All
Okay,
right.
so just to remind everybody, now there's only Leslie and Teresa.
Right. So Gary Jerry heads they head to Costa Rica for overnight dates and alone time with both of these women. And by alone times I mean they go to the fantasy suite, they crack open some champagne, and then they see where what happens, which basically everybody in America knows it means he gets to bone both of the chicks. And after I used the word bone like 6 times, my kid looked at me and goes, "Could you please stop saying bone?" Anyway, I and remember I forced her to watch this show. So this episode had her cringing so hard.
Oh, I can
She it
only
was like
imagine.
she was like, "Do I have to sit through this?" Anyway, everybody knows that so here's my question to you. He goes on some cool dates. They're very like they meet in front of this volcano at the exact same spot. And the woman who goes first knows that he's going the next night with another woman. And the woman who goes second knows that he spent the first night with the first woman. So it's a very strange and like either you're sloppy seconds or you know that there's going to be a follow up to whatever happened with you. So
Right.
my question to you is, do you think that Gary Jerry like actually
Did
like
it?
owns both of these chicks?
Yeah.
You do?
I think he has to test the product out before he posts.
Yeah. I will say this. He was married to the same one for 42 years.
I know, so even more so.
But I will say, okay, here's the part that like at one point so he goes to dinner with freaking Leslie, Dirty Dancing by the way. And he's like, I feel like we haven't really talked about substantive stuff. Like we've just, we've kind of like not really like dug into that stuff. And he's all, is there anything really important that you want to ask me or like really, like just stuff about me that you want to? And she says, and girl, I gotta tell you, this is when I was like, this is how I was like, I know that Gary Jerry has got to be seeing something else that like we don't see. Cause she goes, when was the last time you had sex? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what about stuff like, uh, what religion are you? Because myself and my whole family are a certain religion. And, or how about like, are you willing to locate from the Indiana area to the, Minneapolis, Minnesota area? Or how do your daughters feel about you, bringing home, somebody they've not met and blah, blah, blah? Or do you think they're worried about replacing their mother? And I mean, there's all these life questions like, what kind of retirement plan do you have? What kind of savings plan do you have? Are you on a fixed income? Do you have any pre-existing health condition? I mean, good God. Like,
I know.
what's
Well, so
What's your freaking favorite color? What's your favorite meal? Do you like to stay up past 8 o'clock? Are you somebody who stays up late at night? I mean, everything. Do you sleep on the left side of the bed or the right side? Ha.
which
The question
which
is, when was the
which
last time you had freaking sex?
okay. Teresa knew which side of the bed, what
Yeah.
side of the bed he sleeps on, which is the present. I just have to stick in my 2 cents here. This okay, so when Leslie did the Dirty Dancing, when she earned her nickname, was on the talent show, right? The talent
Yeah.
show episode. And I thought for sure, I was like, oh, wrong move when she was grinding up on him and like doing, twerking and whatever. I was like, oh, no, no, that's not, he's not going to, that's it. She just did herself in because he's classy. He seems like he would pick something classy. Not that he wasn't classy. But, it was a little bit cringy. We talked about that, right? So, but then
It
he
was
kept her.
it was a lot of cringy. It was
Yeah.
not a
Okay.
cringy.
I thought that was it for her, but she's now in the final two. So obviously I was wrong. So then when it comes to, which I thought was really a great moment when he says, you haven't asked anything about me. What would you like to know? And then she says, when was the last time you had sex? So normally I would go, you know, that's a black mark against her because he's like having a
Yeah,
serious moment.
yeah,
But that's what I thought about the Dirty Dancing back in whatever episode for the talent show. I thought he was not going to take her. So I don't know about Gary Jerry. He seems to
yeah.
because also she could be just being playful, and she is being well. I don't know. He might like that about her. So I've been totally wrong. But
Well, I gotta
I
tell you, I also go back to the editing. They may be trying to steer us into
towards
the
Leslie
Leslie direction when I feel like just energy wise, he and convertible Teresa,
are
their
better match.
energy is very similar. And when Teresa started talking about how she like is like a securities official and trades stocks and bonds and made a shit ton of money, I was all Gary Jerry's like the light bulb's going on, like,
Yeah.
damn, like
Well,
grandma's got a brand new purse and I'm not gonna have to buy her one. Like he's like
exactly.
she could pay she she could pay for chicken and
Oh,
cook it up herself. Like she's
she can
got
pay
some
for her own
cash.
shoes and bags. Well,
That's
okay,
right.
that's the other thing. I have a lot to say about this episode. The red flag for me was when Leslie, you know how they do the little side interviews? I don't, there's a name for it, but I don't know what it is. She shares, well, we all know she's been divorced twice and that she hadn't had a relationship for 22 years or whatever it was. But she shares, this is a red flag, y'all. She said, I've always sabotaged my relationships that were going well. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh
That
no,
that kind of
uh-uh.
made me yeah, that kind of made me a little nervous too.
But
Um
he still like didn't he said something pretty substantial when they were in the fantasy.
yeah.
By the way, everybody,
He-
yeah, well, you already know that because Joy asked if I thought he boned both of them, but they both got the key to the fantasy suite. But she said something that I can't remember now, which is great. But
I don't know, but I will tell you that the pervasive feeling I had was both of those women stripped down first thing in the morning after they've been rolling around playing, Tune in Tokyo with Gerry. They looked so they look so much more beautiful without
out
all
makeup.
the shit on their faces and just they just look so beautiful and relaxed. And I was like, why do we have to like create this narrative that women need all this fucking spackle all over their faces
Well,
to to look to be on TV and shit. Like they just looked so refreshed and
much better
fresh,
natural.
freshly boned. So
They had that flush. I will say that it's so funny that you're saying that. I'm just going to make it about me for just a second. I have scaled down my makeup because, first of all, I've given up. I look in the mirror and I'm like, there's no hope for this aging face. But also, I noticed that I like myself better with a lot less makeup. And so I think that, like
yeah,
Teresa to me, in that little black outfit that she had on
she
the
looked so cute.
oh, she had the headband. She
Yeah,
looked so cute. So, so cute.
so
Um,
natural.
yeah. And I just want to focus on Teresa because we talked a lot about Leslie, but yeah, I thought that was a great moment when he asked her, I don't really know what you've done or what you do. And she said, like, after her husband died, she had to figure out, right, finances and stuff. And she taught herself day trading and all of
Oh,
that. And I gotta say, for me, the airhead persona that she has like was totally replaced with this is a smart woman.
yeah.
um and she just seems to me like this would be a better pick, but he's all over Leslie. Like, I don't
I mean,
know.
Cheryl, I mean, let me just give you perspective. Let's say that you are the bachelorette, the Golden Bachelorette, and the last two men left are Jason Momoa and Paul Giamatti. And Paul Giamatti is funny and he makes you laugh and he's smart and he is such a good actor. And then you turn to the other direction and there's the Aquaman and he hasn't worn a shirt the whole season and he's wearing a loincloth and he says, "Do you want me to pretend I'm Cal Drogo again?" and you're just like, oh, he's so freaking hot. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, like, of course you're going to be like, well, I got to take him back to the fantasy suite because I got to, like, it's part of the game and like the ratings really need this. And so does America. Everybody wants to see me boning the hot dude. But also there's Paul Giamatti. He's got like your brain on fire. And like, I mean, you're going to turn the lights out eventually. And then also there's the cataracts. You don't always see what's happening. So, I mean,
Oh,
there's, I mean,
who
there's,
would you choose?
well, I have to tell you, okay, this is where we're going to choose, guys. I, as much as I can tell that he is very physically attracted to Leslie, Dirty Dancing, Leslie, I'm going to go with Teresa because she's smart and savvy. She seems like a really nice person. And this is not a bushfire. This is a slow, steady control burn. This
Yeah.
is not a forest fire. He is not 15 or 22. He is 72 years old. And again, he doesn't have to grow old with this person. He wants companionship. So I'm
Okay.
picking Teresa. And for those of you out there listening, if you want to weigh in, you got to tell us who you think you're picking because when like in 10 seconds we're going to tell you who he picks.
Yeah. So you gotta. Oh yeah, you can't have
How
that.
about
Okay.
you?
Uh,
How about you, Cheryl?
okay. Um. Okay. Who do I think he's going to pick, and who do I want him to pick?
Yeah,
If those two questions are, I ask you those two questions. Still, Teresa, who you want and who you think.
I want him to pick Teresa and I think he's going to pick Teresa.
Okay. Um. I I feel the same. I think that they have edited it in a manner that's leading us to think he's going to pick this Leslie. And so just like reverse psychology, I'm like, it's probably Teresa because it's too obvious, it's too much. He called her my girl. He said something else, Joy, in the fantasy suite. He said something else like, I know it wasn't this, but it was something similar to "you're the only one for me," or "you're something." He said something to Leslie that made it seem like she was the only one. Like he said something, and I can't remember. Hey, write us in. Oh, by the time this airs, whatever. Um, so I agree. I think they're steering us towards Leslie, uh, but he's yeah, I don't know because they could also be pulling a reverse on us. They might be saying, we'll, we'll lead them to think it's Leslie, and then they're going to think it's too obvious, so they're going to know he's going to pick Teresa, and they go, aha, he does pick Leslie. You know what I mean?
Okay, but just go with your gut because we can't keep dragging it out. Who do you
Uh,
think he's going to pick?
I want him to pick Teresa, and I think they're going to fool us, and he is going to pick Teresa.
Okay,
Okay.
guys, you've heard our predictions. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're going to be back with who he picks. And we're back and we watched the finale and we know who Gerry picked. Do you want to say who it was, Cheryl?
Oh, I do, but do you want me to tell you my story, my Hulu story, before we
Oh,
start?
yeah.
Okay,
Please,
so
please do.
I woke up at like 4 o'clock the morning. Okay, everyone, if you stream it or you have regular cable or satellite TV, the finale was on November 30th, the evening of November 30th. But if you're like Joy and I, who want to save a couple of bucks, we do the not live streaming version and we have to wait till it comes on Hulu the next day. And I've watched other episodes because I'm usually up at the crack of dawn and I've watched other episodes at 5 in the morning. So I was up, it was 4 o'clock, and so I checked and it wasn't there. And I thought, maybe too early. So I did go back to sleep. I woke up at like 6 and I thought for sure it's going to be on now. And it wasn't. And then I waited till like 8. And then I finally couldn't take it anymore. And I chatted with Hulu customer service, and this is me. And my representative's name was Gabriel. Hi,
What
Gabriel.
a wait, can I just stop and say what a great name?
Gabriel. Yes, it is. Um, when is the finale of Golden Bachelor going to be available? And you see the three dots. He's typing, and he responds, and he goes, November 30th. Now, mind you, it's already December 1st. So instead of saying like last night, he goes November 30th as if it's in the future. And I go, okay, I know. And but when is it going to be available to those of us that don't have the live TV add-on? And he said, this typing, and then he goes, sometime today. And then I'm thinking he is probably on some instant messenger with his other, they probably work from home, these chat representatives. And I'm sure he has some kind of like instant messenger with his other chat representatives. And I'm sure they have stories to tell, about cuckoo birds who write into them about every little thing.
About cuckoo
So
birds who wake up at 4 in the morning and call.
chomping at the bit for the finale of the Golden Bachelor. So I started feeling real self-conscious because I'm like, I know he's talking shit about me right now. I know it. Because I'm like,
He's like, Cheryl, just for sake of argument, would you mind telling me how old you are?
I like, here I am. I told her, 4, at 6, at 8, it's still not on, and so I say to him,
You're like, I'm a super fan.
no, and so I'm getting really self-conscious, and I'm thinking, I just know he's talking shit about me right now. So instead of not giving a crap, I say to him as he's responding to me, because I said, do you know when it's going to be out today? And he's typing, he's probably checking, or he's pretending he's checking. He probably went to the bathroom. I say to him, I'm not obsessed or anything with the show. I go, I say, I have a podcast that we're recording later today about the finale.
Did
And
you
then
also say, I have 12 cats and I'm single and I live alone?
no, that's what he said to his coworkers about me. So he comes back and he's really sweet and he goes, I understand. I'm eager to see it too. Wink, wink.
Sure.
Make me feel better. Yeah, right. And then he goes, we don't actually have a specific time. And so I was like, okay, that's enough crazy for the day. And I go, all right, well, I'll keep checking back. And he's probably, I'm sure they have several chat windows up. They don't take, their company's not going to pay them to do one chat at a time. So he didn't respond. And I said to him, I swear I'm not nuts. I felt the need to convince this unknown person that I don't have 12 cats and live alone and waiting by my iPad for the Golden Bachelor finale to come on. So I go, I swear I'm not nuts. And he came back and he goes, he said that's when he said, it's okay. I'm eager to see it too. And then he said, is there anything else I can help you with? And I said, no, but you can check out our podcast, Murder and Everything Else. And he came back and he was sweet. And he was like, yeah, I'll check it out. And, he's probably bullshitting me, but he does win a 5-star rating for, being what's the word when you are just humoring me, for humoring me. He was
and a super fan of our podcast was born in that moment.
Anyway, it was hilarious. I'm like, this guy thinks I'm a nutcase. Anyway, so yes, Gerry picked his bride. So how shall we start? You start. You want to bring everybody back in to where we are?
Yeah. So let's just how about if we just shout out, you go ahead and shout out who he picked, and then we'll kind of recap the finale really quickly and talk a little bit about just like his decision and how much crying there was.
Yeah, and we have to talk about the runner-up because that's a lot. That's a lot.
Right.
That's a lot to unpack with the runner-up. Well, if you have not watched it yet and you don't want to know who won, I would just suggest you stop this right now. But the lucky lady is drum roll Teresa.
Woohoo! I
Teresa,
called it.
yesterday Joy texts me and she goes, poor Teresa, she can't have cute hair because every scene she's in, her hair is blowing around for one reason
Yeah.
or
I mean, she is one hot hair mess every single time. It's like between the roller coasters, the convertible, and then getting out for the final rows. And her hair's just like flipping in her face, and you can tell it's windy. And I'm like, I'm sure she's like, could there be one shot of me, please, where my hair looks perfect? Also, the other thing is, like, I don't know whose idea it was to smear red lipstick on that date where Jerry's literally got her red lipstick on his lips, and I'm like, I think the shade actually looked better on him than it did on her. So,
okay. So they went. So now it starts with so Teresa and Leslie are the finalists, and they go to meet Gerry, Gerry, Gerry's family. So, oh my God,
yep,
Teresa is first, and she's just such a classy lady, and she's so petite, and they ask her so the daughters, his grown daughters, and his two granddaughters were there,
yeah.
and the granddaughters are older; they're not like toddlers or anything. And the two daughters take Teresa, like, hey, can we talk to you a bit? And I started to cry. Joy was like rolling her eyes,
Oh,
thinking like, oh my God. But they asked Teresa to tell them a little bit about her and then how she felt about their dad. And what if, so tomorrow, the next day was going to be the proposal. If he asks you to marry him, what will you say and how do you feel? And she goes, absolutely, I want to marry him. I can't see living without him. I can see a future with him. And then when she said, we don't have a lot of time left, that's when I started crying. I thought it was very sweet. Um, do you have anything to say about Teresa's visit with them?
I just really liked the daughters and the granddaughters. I loved that the granddaughters were game to go on the show because you can tell they're 20 somethings and they
Yes.
probably had other things or like late teenagers. And they probably had other stuff they wanted to be doing, but I thought they were super game. And it was just really, really nice that they were there because, it shows that the three generations, it's
Yeah.
Jerry, his children, and then his children's children. And it also indicated like a good family vibe. They wanted to be there for their grandfather. But I gotta say, when he first walked in there, he was already like, sitting down after he said he missed them so much, like it looked like he was already going to cry. And you guys all know how I feel about all the crying. I mean, it's just excessive. And I felt
Okay.
like this episode, I just wanted to be like, I felt like Kleenex. I watched this on Hulu too. I felt like Kleenex should have really been the advertiser for this show. I felt like
This,
they would have watched their stock price soar because it was so excessive.
well, you know what? It's interesting that you say that he looked like he was almost going to cry because later on, when I don't know if they were talking to the granddaughters or the daughters, but anyway, they said with regard to Teresa, I think it was the granddaughter. She said, she goes, at least she was expecting when he saw them because he hadn't seen them for a while that he was going to break down. And she said when he didn't, she knew that he was in a good place and that he was happy. And I thought that was
Mhm.
very, very, that was a very good observation because he was happy with Teresa. Okay, so let's move
Yeah.
on to Leslie meeting the fam. I know you got a lot to say about this one.
Wait,
No
wait, wait,
shade.
wait, wait, wait. I just have to throw out there that one of the things that one of the daughters or granddaughters hit on was that they had very similar stories. And
Oh,
that
yes,
was
yes,
one of
yes.
the
Tell her
things
that. Tell her
that
that.
was one of the things that really stuck out to me because she said it bonds them together and it bonds her with our family. And I really liked that. It was one of the things I mentioned was that their stories are very parallel.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you did. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was huge. That was a huge part because you and I talked last night after you watched it, and I think that she won big points with the daughters, and the granddaughters because with the fact that similar story, and also they said that they have traditions, and little things about their mom that they do or
Mhm.
say or whatever, and because Teresa has had a spouse for 40 something years too, she can understand that you want to keep that person's memory alive,
Right.
and they felt that Teresa would encourage that, and she would be supportive of them talking about their mom
Right.
instead of it being comfortable and something they'd have to like push away, because it'd be the same thing with her. She was in love with her husband and he got sick. So yes,
Right.
that was really good. And then after that they have one more final, I don't know if you'd call it a date, but they get together, right? In her, is it her
Yeah.
cabana or and
Yeah, and in Teresa's hotel room. Can I just say that I was so disappointed because she was wearing this adorable little silky dress with this kind of animal print, jungle print, and he shows up wearing like a blue hoodie, like he just went out for a run. I was like, I felt like the producers kind of like missed the boat on at least give him one of those like plantation shirts that he's been wearing through the whole show.
I didn't even notice that, but he took notice of her. He was like,
Yeah,
"You look
and he
great."
commented on how cute she looked. And that was when she had the bright red lipstick that he then spent the rest of the night wearing. So,
Okay, and my comment about that evening was I just thought Teresa was just such she just seems like a really wonderful person, and just very like she's just sincere and genuine and mature, and she told him, I know this is a very hard decision for you, and I don't know what you're telling Leslie, um, but that she basically was okay. I mean, she did say, of course, I'm going to have break my heart. My heart will be broken if you don't choose me because I love you and I'm in love with you, but I'll understand. I mean, it was very caring, like giving him the okay to not pick her if that's. Oh, the other thing she said is, I want you to pick me only if you are 1,000% sure.
yes.
So I wouldn't want you to pick me if you weren't 1,000%. And if you don't pick
Yes.
me, that means you're not 1,000% sure about me, and I'll be happy for you if Leslie is the one. So
Yeah.
I just thought she was so gracious. I mean, it was, yeah, no wonder he picked her because
Yeah.
she's
I really liked that because the other thing it did was it indicated a maturity
yes,
in her processing skills and her relationship. She had been in a long-term relationship with someone, and you could tell that just like relationship wise, her level of maturity. Yeah, of course she's going to be devastated, but nobody wants to be picked because they were just left over or consolation prize. They want to be picked because they are like far and away the top contender and the number one pick. I mean, my husband didn't like pop up and go, "Hey, I was wondering if you might want to marry me since nobody else wants to." Like, nobody wants to
exactly.
hear that.
Exactly. And if he had any doubts of that she was the one, I think that just I think remember when they were in the convertible and they both thought their lives were going to they saw their lives flash before their eyes on the 405
Right.
freeway in that convertible.
Right.
Remember when he was really nervous and he's trying to like, I'm on a date. I'm supposed to be, chivalrous and be, but I am scared shitless. And she put her hand on him. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? I think
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
a huge moment, that she comforted him like that. But anyway, I
Yeah.
think she's just very comforting to him. Okay, is there anything else or can we move on to
No, no, we need to like it, keep the ball rolling, and let's talk about his
Dirty
meeting with his
Dancer?
family with Leslie, or who I
Okay,
like to call Dirty Dancer.
okay, you start this one.
Okay, so again, still in Costa Rica, and he tells the girls, his daughters and granddaughters, that Leslie's a lot of fun and she makes me laugh all the time. Before she comes in. And then um I just thought it was so interesting because um remember leading up to this, he can they seem to not be able to keep their hands off of each other. And I don't know, I just felt like he was kind of holding back a little bit, but then I thought, okay, it's probably because his daughters and granddaughters are here. Um but anyway, uh I I liked that the daughters were like, we thought that Teresa was great. And then Leslie comes in and we think that Leslie's great, but she never comes out because the daughters ask her one on one when they take her apart from Gerry about whether or not she would like have say the vows and accept a proposal from him, and she never comes out and says, and this is one of the things about Leslie that I understand everyone has a different communication style, but she's always kind of like dancing around, skirting, you know what I mean, like she just also tends to always dig into this, like, I've never had forever love, I've never had till death do us part. She says, she never comes out and says, I would 100% accept a proposal.
That was a red flag for them because when they asked Teresa, she was like, absolutely, I would marry him. I can't see my life
Right.
without him. And Leslie said something about that she and Gerry had talked about it before, and she had expressed that yes, she would like to have a life with him. And then after she said it, and he left her, she she didn't use the word doubts, but she said she felt anxiety. So you don't
Yeah.
want to tell the daughters of the bachelor that I had
No.
anxiety after we talked about getting married.
Right. Exactly. I That really stuck out to me. And also, um, uh, one of the daughters worried that Leslie got emotional because she's not sure about marrying
Yeah,
Harry Jerry.
yeah, for sure. Well, and do you want to
So,
talk about before they whisked her away to talk to her when she made her entrance and she talked about uh being in the fantasy suite and being able to say whatever she wanted?
yeah, and then he said the F word, and she's like, "Yay, I can swear in front of him." And it reminded me of like when she asked him when he goes, "Do you have any like pressing questions?" And she's all, "When was the last time you had sex?" I felt like I was playing the 10-finger game with my girlfriends in my 20s. I was like,
Yeah, and
"Huh,
I don't mean to be prude. I mean, you guys have heard us swear on here like sailors. But when you don't know the people, because some people don't like swearing, and you don't know them, I was like, wow, that was really bold. On one hand, you can look at it like, wow, she's being herself, but on the other hand, it was like, ooh, it was to me, it was reflective. Is that the word? Comparable to her dance at the talent show, where I was like, I mean,
yeah,
but look at, I was wrong because I thought she was going to be
yeah,
gone after the talent show. So
yeah." So then,
it,
it the awkwardness kind of like also gets, you get the feeling like he's rushing her to leave because he says like, "Are you ready to go? It's probably time for me to take
yeah,
off."
yeah, there was
And
that
then
awkward
Leslie
silence.
kind of, yeah, Leslie says she says she could tell that he wasn't quite himself today, and that makes her start like being anxious.
Hmm.
So he then later like meets up with her again wearing his plantation like linen shirt that he forgot to wear when he went to go see Teresa. Of course, the other thing is maybe he's very comfortable. He's more comfortable now, Teresa, right? Because he's all, well, I'm gonna be walking around in front of her in my underwear and my wearing my dirty chonies, and I'm gonna be like going to the bathroom with the door open, so I don't really have to dress nice. But anyway,
That's a very interesting observation that he could have
yeah,
felt very comfortable with her and therefore didn't need to like impress her with what he was wearing. He
yeah.
already had that. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I will say that the scrapbook that so he goes to meet with Leslie and she gives him a scrapbook. And I will say the scrapbook that she gave him was very sweet. It kind of reminded me, I don't know if you saw that movie Up, where he's looking through the scrapbook of him and his
Oh
girl
my
Elle.
God.
Ellie, and remember like at the beginning, and they're doing all these cool things together. And anyway, I thought it was very sweet, but you can tell when he's looking at it, you literally can tell that he has already closed that door. Like he's looking at it like, thank you so much for putting the time into this, but I'm thanking you like I'm thanking a contestant on a talent show. Like he's just not into it.
Yeah, and I think that her giving him something like that, it's almost like you could see the wheels turning in his head, going, "Fuck, I'm gonna have to break up this woman," you know, like
Yep.
he was just not there. And then she tells him, "I love you. I'm in love with you." She pours her heart out to him, and he says, after a very long pause, because he was probably like dying inside that he was going to have to break her heart, his response is, "Be happy." Whoa, and the
Yeah.
audience, if you guys have watched this, there's a live audience watching this along with us, and they're all like, "Whoa." And she knows.
Yeah.
She knows. They walk she walks into the door, they hug, he cups her head in his hands, and they're both sobbing. And she goes, "Is there something you want to tell me?" And he says, "No." And he leaves, and then this is one of Joy's favorite parts, where they show him holding onto the
Ugh.
rails and just bawling his eyes out. She loves that. She was like, "You know what I'm going to do for Christmas? I'm going to put all his crying scenes together in one long video." But then, knock, knock, knock at her door, and he comes back in, and he sits down with her. And you want to go into what he says to her, and or do you want
Well, he knocks on the door and they both kind of look very somber. And he says, we need to have this conversation now instead of tomorrow. Because obviously, while they've got cameras in their face, remember the next day they're going to put on wedding dresses and they're going to show up outside, and he's going to tell one of them to go packing in front of everybody
that is
on.
awful.
Yeah, it's
That is so
horrible.
awful.
It's horrible.
It,
And honestly, like when the show started, that was what was so shocking about it was it's like a game show contestant wedding, it was just
with somebody's
ridiculous.
heart. Yeah, with
And
people's hearts are
so
so up.
you do appreciate that he's letting her down the night before, although I'm
Yes.
sure those cameras in her face didn't make it any better. I mean, let's
No.
face it. I mean, they are contestants in a show. The only difference is it's not a game, it's their hearts.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So,
he says he says that he has fallen in love with Teresa and that's the direction he's going to take. And she turns on him in anger. And she tells him, "You can't tell me how to feel," which I really appreciate about her. But I will say that one of the things that, like, he makes a couple of gaps, but he keeps going back to, "You're both wonderful, but only one of you is right." I wish he had said that only one of you is right for me for marriage. But that through this process, obviously, that we all signed up for, like I had to make sure that I was making the right decision. Because that's the other thing is you realize that they've all signed up for this. All of them, the
yeah.
men, Jerry, Gary, and all the women signed up for having cameras in their face, having their emotions flashed over TV, etc. It doesn't take away from the fact that her heart is broken. But the fact of the matter is that she has to also, and I don't feel like she had that maturity like Teresa did to say, "I wouldn't want you if you didn't want me 1000%."
But
And
okay.
then
But
she starts to turn it on herself. Like it's
yes,
typical.
you're
This is my
absolutely right.
life.
You're
And then she's
absolutely right.
all, you know, um, in front of the whole world, I have to handle this heartbreak. You made me sound like you chose me. You led me down a path and then you took a turn and left me there. And I feel like this is also a display of emotional immaturity. It's like she was an active participant in this whole process, meaning she led him down a path and then he took the turn. I mean, it's not just him. They walked down that path together. Like,
But
let's
she
face
wasn't.
it.
Well, okay. In her defense, first of all, can I just say I was surprised that she was one of the final two? Because again, I thought she was cut. She was going to be cut after her Dirty Dancing stint.
Yeah.
But I think I'm sorry, but Gary's a man, and Teresa was a hot little spicy wild thing, you know, and not Teresa. I'm sorry,
I
not
was
Teresa.
gonna say, how do you know that?
No, Leslie. Leslie was. I think Teresa is behind closed doors. But Leslie let her. She was just wild, and I think that was thrilling to him. Absolutely right. First, she was angry at him, and then it turned on her. She turned it on herself. But at first, one of the things she said was, "You lied to me. You lied to me. You lied to me." She just said it, and she said, so in her defense, yes, he actually told Faith he loved her too. So let's put that aside.
Yeah, that's
He
true.
told a lot of people he loved them. So we're gonna put that
But they
aside because
have
that
to. They
okay,
have to. It's a show.
I know, hold on. But let's that all washes out because there are several other people that were not chosen that were sitting in the audience, like Faith and Ellen, that were not chosen that he did say he loved. So that washes out. But the things that he said to Leslie that they didn't show us anyway was when he told her, "You're my girl," and he was in the fantasy suite and told her, "I think you're the one." Now, he
Yeah.
says in the finale when they've come face to face, because of course they have Leslie on to be humiliated one more time. No, to say her part of how she felt, and then they bring him on. I don't. I know you think. I know you have your feelings about him, but I have to say, I think he's pretty adept at not skirting, but dealing with her saying you lied. And he was honest and he said, "I'm human, I'm imperfect. This is a very odd situation." And that's how I felt at in the moment. But as a viewer, and of course, we're only seeing what's edited. I mean, what did you think about that? Remember, we were like, "Oh my God, he told her that she was his girl," and then he said to
Yeah.
her,
I
so,
mean,
I
all
mean,
I can,
putting,
I
putting
mean,
yourself in her shoes, putting yourself
uh,
in her shoes.
I have been in her shoes, and by her shoes, I mean I have dated more than one person at the same time. I can honestly tell you,
You mean his shoes?
yeah, I can honestly tell you that you can have feelings for more than one person at the same
Yeah,
time.
and that's the point that Teresa had made. She wasn't
Yeah,
all, yeah, she was like,
remember,
you,
uh, um, the people that you date, like sometimes they check different boxes. Obviously, Jerry was in several boxes at the same time. And the fact of the matter is Leslie's been married twice and divorced twice. But Jerry, and Teresa were with their childhood sweethearts for 400 years, and they wanted to be married to another person with similar values for another 400 years. So they found their person.
yeah, so I don't think it was a fair fight, if you want to call it that. That's why I said I think it would have been really interesting if he had taken Faith to the final too,
Yeah,
because
I just have to say, did you hear that comment she made about the $60,000 dress?
yes,
Oh my
yeah.
God. First of all, I wanted to see it because
Well,
I was
tell
like,
everybody because they might not have seen it. Tell
well,
everyone what she said.
n-
Go ahead.
she said, she goes, at least she didn't have to walk down in that $60,000 dress with the diamond earrings and get on that platform and be completely embarrassed in front of all of America. But I was like, did you just say $60,000? Because like, I'm sorry, I saw Teresa's dress when she got out of her limo. I mean, if that was a $60,000 dress, girl, you need to get some of your money back. Because
Maybe maybe
that
it was.
dress, first of all, the slit was up to her "see you next Tuesday." It was really low in the front, and the straps looked like they were going to fall off. And then
Yeah.
also, it was dragging on the ground, and I kept worrying with all the steps and the size of her heels that she was going to hit the hem and do a header into the bushes. I mean, I was,
You know what? I think he even said something when she got down the
yeah,
stairs, like
he said you made it all the way down the steps.
with her hair flying in her face. It's amazing that she could see the steps.
Okay,
Um,
I just have to jump in and say one of the things that I do like about one of the things I did really like about this episode is you're gonna laugh. It's the only thing I liked. After Gerry leaves Leslie, he says, I'll let myself out. And he leaves. He runs into Jesse, who's just lurking in the hallway outside of Leslie's room, apparently, with a camera crew. But he hugs Jesse, like, and starts weeping on his shoulder. And he does it several times. And I will say, one, I liked it because it showed physical, like, affection between two men that was not sexual in any way, but that was also super appropriate. I feel like we don't show enough affection between men in our culture that shows love and companionship, or I mean not companionship but camaraderie and emotion. And he was comforting Gerry, and Jesse was the younger man, so I
I like
really liked that.
I like Jesse. I think it's not as easy as it looks to be a host and have the appropriate reactions. Well, you can have whatever reaction you want, but let's face it, you are hosting the show. So
Yeah,
you have to temper the situation sometimes.
yeah,
You want to ask questions, but you don't want to offend anyone. I think it's a lot harder than it looks. I actually really liked him. I thought he
yeah.
did a really good
And I didn't like Jesse for every episode until this one, and so now I'm changing. And
job.
I am giving my 100% seal of approval to Jesse, even though he's very nondescript looking. And even though I feel like he's very kind of blah, he's better than Chris Harrison. But I like him now and I'm going to give him a chance. But I will also say, and I think we should just skip through all of the stupid BS when Leslie came out and did more crying. By the way, she looked phenomenal, and all the women in the crowd, and then Teresa and Gerry come out where they give them a free trip to Italy, blah blah blah. Oh, by the way, Teresa looked amazing too. Um, but I will just say that um I am so disappointed that they're going to go next to The Bachelor with this little hottie, I can't remember his name, instead of doing
Joey.
the Golden Bachelorette. It was a perfect setup for them to do a Golden Bachelorette.
Yeah, I'm interested to see because I will watch it. I will watch the golden ones. I'm not interested in the youngins. But I just want to say that when Jesse announced that they were getting a free trip to Italy, and he had mentioned that that's one of the things they said on their date that they both wanted to learn how to speak Italian. That Gary says to everyone that that's a great it's a perfect gift because they can use it for their honeymoon because they actually are getting married and they're going to air it on January 4th of
Are you going to watch it?
2024. And I'll be yes, I'll be on my I was going to say on my ottoman. I will have my feet on my ottoman sitting in my chair and I will have front row seat in my house with some popcorn. You're not going to you have to watch it. We have to talk about it. I mean, maybe we'll talk about it on the show for Francoise's sake. But
I
you
am
gotta watch
not going
it.
to watch it. I
Oh,
I cannot stand those kind of wedding shows. They drive me bonkers.
I want to see what they look like.
Ugh. Well, I'll
Anyway,
just have to wait until I am so disappointed that they did not. And the other thing that I will tell you right now is I yeah, I'm going to watch it when they do a Golden Bachelor, but I'm not going to watch, I don't know, although that Bachelor was a hottie McToddy, let me tell you. Woo.
Joey, remember last night you remembered his name? I was
Oh,
like, who's Joey?
I don't remember it now. Anywho,
I
for those of
remember.
you out there listening who watch this, and yeah, feel free to reach out to murder and everything else at gmail.com and give us your thoughts, your ideas, what you thought of the show, because I got to tell you, I am so glad he picked Teresa. And
Me too.
I definitely feel bad for Leslie, but you know what? Oh, this was what I was going to say. She said afterwards that time was running out. I just need to put this out there. I don't care if you're 55, 65, 75, 85, 95. Time is not running out. Don't be so fatalistic. She has just as much
loving-
capacity. If anything, the show taught her, Cheryl, that she has just as much capacity for love. And by the way, she was 64, not 60, which is what the Chiron said when she first popped up on the show. She has just as much capacity and ability for love at 64 as anyone else. And I wish that one of her takeaways from this show was that she is a loving, caring, beautiful, attractive, and lovely person, and that she would make a wonderful match or a wonderful mate for someone else, just not Gerry. And honestly, you don't want to be with the person that doesn't want to be with you 1,000%.
I think she needs to put aside her past and just move forward. Because she did say that she learned from her love for him that she is open to loving again, because she said she didn't trust before and she always sabotaged. And hopefully this experience won't put her in, in the past and doing all these other behaviors. And he said to her too, when they were both sitting there, that he's sure that this show has shown everyone, what a wonderful person she is and how fun she is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. So
Well,
anyway,
even though we did not cover murder this week, in this episode, Cheryl, you know what is a crime?
what's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
That's right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day.
All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch created and managed by Kevin Callan. Podcast editing and advertising by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezek. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube, and you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.